All right, everybody, welcome to the Monday episode of Locked On Avalanche. The Avs end that 5-game losing streak, but it did not come easy. They needed to have a comeback victory in overtime to get the 2 points. So we'll talk about that, their win over the Oilers. And like we talked about last week, the All-Star game is about a month away. One Avalanche has his ticket punched. The other one we need to vote in. And it's kind of what we were talking about when we were discussing this. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Locked On Avalanche. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I hope we can get through this episode without any technical difficulties. I don't know. The internet doesn't want to seem to be working properly tonight. So
it's day to day.
It's got a lower body injury. So we're just going to roll with it and hopefully we get through with no interruptions. First things first, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. You can follow us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram, questions, comments, concerns, opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com, and follow us on our YouTube channel over on YouTube. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. So yes, sir, Mr. Sullivan, we will start right there with the Avs ending that pesky little 5-game losing streak. Losing streak. Let me get that right. Hopefully we go on a 5-game winning streak. That would be nice. Yeah, and it did not come easy. You're in enemy territory, playing in Edmonton against, the all-world Connor McDavid, and they were playing well in this game for the most part, but we're still down. And at some point you're like, man, is this how it's going to be for the Avs this year? Is it like, even when they're playing well, they still can't seem to win games that they maybe should be winning? They go down 2-0, and then they just start chipping away at it. And, they head into overtime where Cale Makar sends everybody home, and the Avs finally get that elusive second point.
Yeah, the vibe I was getting in that first and second period was something's just not right. That first period, it was okay. The second period, you felt like it was right there. Yeah. Like the dam was about to break, and I know Reichert said it a million times, like, just keep pushing, it's about to break. And I just kept sitting there watching, like, with eagle eyes that entire game. I was like, what is going on? We are leading in shots. There was really nothing statistically that should say Colorado should be trailing at this point. And then the third period, the dam did break, and Brad Hunt, welcome to the team, bud.
Holy, where is that? Can we get more of that, please, Mr. Hunt?
That was incredible, and I liked seeing the reaction from, like, you could tell, like, that first Nathan MacKinnon it's an incredible goal, but it's what Nathan MacKinnon does.
It's ho-hum for him, right?
Yeah, it's just, he does that in his sleep. And then that felt good, and it fired them up a little bit. And then Brad Hunt to be the equalizer, I think that really, like, fired the boys up, like, okay, let's go. We could do this. And then for Cale Makar to do Cale Makar things, that was not just a good win, a needed win. And I think it really did a lot of soothing of the souls for not just the team, but the fans.
Definitely for the fans. Fans are sitting there like, who's our next victory going to be against? I mean, when it's doom and gloom, it's doom and gloom. And when things aren't going your way, you go up and down the schedule, and you're like, any team can beat us right now. And you go up against the Oilers, and whenever you go up against the Oilers, it's like, well, McDavid's going to see blood in the water and just, he's just going to attack. And he was trying, but it's one game. But the Sam Girard haters need to take a seat, because he played out of his mind in that game. And if you're rolling your eyes, go ahead and roll your eyes. But for at least this game, you got to take a seat and eat some crow in that Sam Girard played incredible on both ends of the ice. Offensively, he was getting shots. He was facilitating.
And a goal against Vancouver.
And he almost had a goal in this one.
Yep.
Hit the crossbar. And defensively, dare I say he shut down Connor McDavid?
Yeah.
He was great. And I'm a Sammy G fan, but I will admit that he hasn't been playing well, but a lot of guys haven't been playing well in the Avs. And because of that, he seems to be the whipping boy of everybody that's not playing well. And when he does play well, like he did in this game, it's kind of where I wanted to start. And after we get through how we feel about the game individually, he was maybe my first star of the game, even though Nathan MacKinnon had that highlight reel goal, and so did Cale Makar in overtime. But I thought from a individual player, how they managed the game standpoint, Sammy G was fantastic.
And it's one of those that because we both are laser focused on Sammy G and watching him take his step up. I mentioned it on an episode a couple before that we like to hate on Sammy G because you'll never say anything negative about Cale Makar, even when he has a -2 or a -3 night, because that's Cale Makar. The same thing with Mikko or Nate. When they're not doing their job, we'll forgive it because their name's on the back of our jersey. Our cup holders and our socks have their faces on it. We're not gonna say anything negative about those guys. They won us a cup. Right. But Sammy G, we will. And he's been, even though he has made mistakes, he's not playing terrible. He's definitely brought it around. He is slid into the Jack Johnson role from last year. When Jack Johnson would make mistakes, we could all pile on Jack Johnson because, can you believe it? He's just he's a tree out there, and when he does try and make a move, it's a disaster. Now he's gone to the worst team in the league right now, and then Sammy G, when Sam Girard makes a mistake, it's noticeable, but then you get that in your mind that, he's playing terribly, but you have to focus. He is doing so much on the ice. It showed up in the Vancouver game on the score sheet, and holding Draisaitl and McDavid, I think they had 1 or 2 shots. I think between the two of them, it was even strength. I think it was less than 5 between the two.
Okay, I just have the stat sheet. I can bring up the 5-on-5 and
I was trying to tattoo the stat line of that win. I have missed winning so long. I tried to tattoo every stat I could on my body.
So it was McDavid. Let's see. McDavid had 4 shots. Again, this is for the whole game. Yeah. Had 4 shots on goal. Draisaitl didn't have any. Leon Draisaitl had no shots on goal. Really? Okay.
So that goes back to when Sam Girard makes mistakes, we like to point it, and because he's the easy guy, because especially the contract. So, but you seem to kind of forget this, and you're just like, it's an Avs win. No, Sam Girard helped out with this win. It's time to get off of Sam Girard. Those days are done, please. Even though he is a good trade piece, I understand, and it's out there, but we got to stop the Sam Girard hate.
Yeah. Draisaitl, I'm on Money Puck now. Nothing. Zach Hyman though with 9 shots on goal.
Yeah, he was out there. He was balling.
And his expected goals was 2.17 for Zach Hyman. You don't see that. Let me see. 5-on-4. McDavid so when they were on the power play, he had 2 shots. So 2 shots on goal on the power play for McDavid, and then 2 more at 5-on-5. I mean, when you limit him to 4 shots on goal, you are doing something right. And 4 shots on goal is a good amount. You know what I mean? So, but for someone like him, well, let's see. I think where did MacKinnon? Yeah, Nathan MacKinnon, 11 shots on goal. That's kind of that's high for him, but he's usually around 10. He's usually in the 7, 8, 9 range. McDavid is in that same realm. So think about that. If someone held Nathan MacKinnon to 4, we would be saying they did a good job on him. So you have to give the credit to the Avalanche defenders. Sammy G taking the lead there on shutting down Draisaitl and McDavid. Great job there.
And you can't say, well, Edmonton has bad defense, because you have been saying Sam Girard has been the bad defense for Colorado this whole time. And the heart and soul of the league, depending on where you are in the world, was held to 2 even strength shots. Like that's incredible.
Did they? So McDavid did have an assist, and Draisaitl did have 2 assists. So you can't keep him off the stat sheet entirely, and including the where the scoring, where it kind of matters. But yeah, I thought they did a great job on them overall. All right, let's hear from Athletic Greens, and then more to get to in this game, obviously, more individual. Yeah, there it is. I think it's glorious. Yes, the Athletic Greens coffee container that we hold our Athletic Greens in. So we'll get to them now, and then after that, we will, like I said, discuss more of the individual moments and kind of stats of the game, and a sound check that we have to get to as well a little bit later on. And those all start. What is it, voting in?
Yeah.
It's yeah,
ballots.
Whatever. This is why I hate it. Anyway, Athletic Greens, that is something that Kyle and I have been using for quite some time now. We take it every morning before we take our delicious cup of morning coffee, we have a nice cup of water with 1 scoop of Athletic Greens, and we are absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. It's a special blend of ingredients that supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, all of the important things. The Athletic Greens was created when the founder was experiencing a ton of gut health issues on his own, and he ended up on a complicated supplement routine to recover, which cost him over $100 a day. This costs you less than $3 a day, and you're investing in your health, which is cheaper than that coffee and cold brew habit. So it's cheaper than getting all the different supplements yourself, and you're investing in all-in-one nutritional insurance. So right now, reclaim your health and arm your immune system with a convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day, and that is it. No need for a million different pills or supplements, and it tastes delicious. I'm telling you, people, it tastes fantastic. If you're watching on YouTube and Kyle has that, the color of it is actually probably the same color as the coffee can that Kyle. It is a weird green flavor color, but the taste is still it's very good. It's very good. Your mic is off too, by the way. I don't know if you know that. So mess around with some wires. Let's get you back online. So to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Once again, it's athleticgreens.com/NHL network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. There we go. Beautiful. All right. So back to the game between the Avs and the Oilers. The lines were different. So you had Erod come back. So and they put him up right on that first line. And what did they do? The guy who's playing probably the best for the Avalanche, and Mikko Rantanen, they dropped him down to the second line, and nobody bats an eye. Nobody looks at that and says, like, oh, what's wrong with Mikko Rantanen? Why are we demoting him? You don't look at this as a demotion. You look at it as, hey, he's playing the best on our team, right? But the team overall is not playing well. So you need to clearly mix things up. And it's not, well, we'll bring guys up to Mikko Rantanen. It's like, we'll bring him down to help out on those other lines, especially getting Evan Rodriguez back. And it worked like a charm.
Yeah, Evan Rodriguez had 2 assists on that top line, and it's the same instance when we would drop Gabe Landeskog on that second line last year.
Yeah,
it was never a demotion; it was a supplemental, an extra push, and it worked. And through the first 2 periods, you could see how it was starting to come together. The third period just broke loose,
and the way Mikko Rantanen has been playing since Nathan MacKinnon's returned is a little bit different. Those 2 guys play great together, obviously, especially on like the power play when the power play is doing well. but I don't know what it was. Like the last couple of games that Nathan MacKinnon's been back, Mikko Rantanen seemed to maybe take a little bit of a back seat. He became, I don't know. I'm not saying like a lot of guys were just saying like, oh, Nathan MacKinnon's back, let's just him do all the, the grunt work. But maybe it was twofold. Maybe it was, I need a jump start on somebody other than the top line. And maybe I got to get Mikko Rantanen going a little bit more. He still scored a goal, I think, in was it the Vancouver game that he got one of those 2 goals?
I believe he scored the one before Sam Girard.
Sam Girard did, yeah. So maybe it was both. Maybe there's two reasons behind it, but for whatever, not for whatever reason, for the reasons, it worked. And even on the lower lines, on the bottom 6, you had some movement there too. I think they moved Ben Myers down to the 4th line. Which he's going to do that. He's going to do that stuff when you have a 5-game losing streak. You have to maneuver around, and you have the luxury to move Mikko Rantanen into a second line and not miss a beat, really.
Yeah, Mikko understands that Nathan MacKinnon, he's the alpha. Like this is
sure,
things, and you got to let him get in, get comfortable, and let him cook, for lack of a better term. He's after next year, Mikko won't be the highest paid player on the team. That'll be Nate. So let him earn his money. Let Mikko. Hey, honestly, he's been the workhorse this whole time. Let him get a little bit of a break. Let him try and get his legs back. Like, because between him and Cale Makar, they both could use a little vacation.
Well, Cale Makar, 33 minutes and 9 seconds on ice. I've been hearing that's a career high for him, but I don't know.
Third highest in the league this year of total time on ice in a game.
For some reason, I thought I remember seeing a 34 next to his name once before. I could be totally wrong on that. Does it really matter if it's 3 or 34? It's a ton of ice time. Yeah, I know you went into overtime too, but God, we're talking about him in a minute too with the All-Star break. And you said it, like, I'd rather not have this All-Star break so Cale Makar can take a couple of days off.
Yep.
Because he needs it. We need him to be, as well rested as possible. And then, when you have, that was the other thing they did. Jacob McDonald went up, and he was on a forward line. He was on the 4th line, but he only played 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And then they had McDermott on a defensive line. On the 3rd pairing, he got what do you get, like 8 minutes or so? Okay, 8.5 minutes. Okay, that's fine. And I thought McDermott was okay.
Yeah.
Like he needed to throw his weight around a little bit. But God, like we mentioned Brad Hunt in the beginning. I don't know that shot he had that scored that goal. When it went in, I was like, who was that guy? And I'm like, the last guy I expected was Brad Hunt. And the funny thing about it was, the puck was kind of scooting out towards the blue line, and Cale Makar at that time I thought he was like just dead tired and he couldn't go get the puck. But the vantage point that he had on the ice is completely different than what we were seeing on television, which was cutting off Brad Hunt coming into the play like a speed demon and just ripped that thing home. Good Lord, Brad, keep doing that, my man.
There's
that was
something
fantastic.
There's something about that position on the team where it's almost like a hole shot in motocross where you gun it just right. You're gunning like you got the same like production out of Morgan, even though there wasn't like a goal. But for Brad Hunt to have that kind of success, and he's starting to really find his way in his spot with the team. So it's another one of those who keeps their spot on the roster when everybody's healthy. He's making a case.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, it'll be a little bit tough. When he comes, I don't know. If they have 6 solid defensemen. Obviously, it's Johnson, Taves, Makar, Sammy G, Manson. So that's 5. Who am I missing here?
Bo Byram, right. But he's going to be missing for a while.
Yeah. So maybe we'll stick around for a little bit. Yeah, we'll see. Shots on goal, you're just looking at it, and it's for the game, the Avs 46-30. They were everywhere. They lost the face-off percentage. What else is new? 55% to 46%. 0 for 4 on the power play.
Golden sombrero.
Power play is still a problem, and it doesn't look good in any aspect of just getting the puck into the zone. It is so predictable what they are doing. We've been talking about this for a while, and there's only so many ways you can bring a puck into a zone during a power play.
Yeah.
But you should have at least 3 different ways to bring it in there and mix it up how you're doing it. Because when you just you're just relying on the skill of Nathan MacKinnon to weave in and out of guys on the drop back pass, and then they hug the wall and then just do the drop back to the defender, whoever's there. Usually it's Makar, and then they start their cycling and they set up their play. But to get to that point is so difficult because everybody in the world knows it's coming. And just mix it up. There's been times where Cale Makar is usually the guy that's dropping the pass back to Nathan MacKinnon, and guys will cheat. So Makar will just go into the zone. Like, that's one thing you could do. There's other where you could have 2 guys as a drop back and they don't know who it's going to. And then you can pass it off to him. There's so many different things that you could do, and the Avs do one.
Yep.
And it's infuriating to watch because it's like, once they get settled, it's like, okay, now we can start doing it. But getting settled and getting into the zone is proving so difficult, and it's so frustrating to watch them right now.
And the thing is, they were doing so good to start the season with the power play, and to watch it dissolve to this, and we can only have wait till insert name here gets back. Like, you got your big guys out there.
They're back. Yeah,
so you're running out of excuses, and like to see it go from something so good to where it is now, and resort back to the drop back pass. It's very frustrating.
And I remember our episodes early in the season. We were talking about how good the power play looked because of these. They were giving different looks, bringing in the puck into the zone. And then when they were set up, they were flinging the puck around.
Yep.
It wasn't just one guy pass and then Mikko holds it for 5 seconds and then passes back to the point. And then and then hopefully, MacKinnon's there for a one-timer. But if the puck's a little bit off and it's not in his wheelhouse, he'll collect it and send it back to Cale. It's just methodical, not in a good way. It's just ho-hum. Let's just pass it around. If we get a lane, we'll shoot it. They're not like, look at what Edmonton was doing on the power play.
Yep.
That's how you run a power play when you have skilled players. And the Avs have just as many skilled players more than what Edmonton does. And Edmonton whips that puck around and they get it in tight. And, they take good calculated chances. The Avalanche aren't doing that right now.
And all of the goals from Edmonton came on the power play, and you left 4. Let's just say you go 50% on the power play. You had 2 extra goals. If you would have killed off those 2 for Edmonton and scored 2 yourself, we'd be having a completely different episode about the Avs are back, baby. But
yeah. And before we get to BetOnline, we definitely got to bring up Georgiev. We haven't talked about him at all yet.
Who?
He was great. He was great. I thought he was really good. Like he stopped the pucks that he needed to stop. How many shots? They had 30 something shots on goal. They had 30 exactly. All right. That's a workload. And when you get down to it in that game against Vancouver, when he's slamming the stick on the cross, like the frustration boiled over. And I think that was a culmination of the entire team bottled up in Alexander Georgiev's goalie stick. And he took it out on the crossbar. They obviously ended up losing that game, but he channeled it and he didn't let it, he got it out and he didn't let that frustrate him going forward. Because sometimes when that happens, guys push a little bit too hard to be too perfect. And he was like, no, I know my skill. That was a rough game, a bad game. And he came back and he played well. And you got down 2-0. And like we're saying, we're all sitting here thinking when is this going to end? How is this losing streak going to end? But he did what he had to do and he kept them at 2. And again, when you keep a team like that they're top heavy, but the top part of it is very good.
Yep.
And when you can keep those guys to 2 goals, you have a shot. And the Avs just pitched away at it. So I give Georgiev a lot of credit for keeping it where it was.
Even though Hyman was the guy that was figuring out how to break Georgiev, if you're keeping Draisaitl and McDavid off the board and you're holding on to that, you're not letting anybody else have a star night. Now that you're shutting down the stars, you're doing a really good job in goal. So hopefully we don't start overworking Georgiev, but you like what you see.
Yeah. I'm looking up his. So 23 low danger shots, 15 medium, and 3 high danger. So 3 high danger shots is not bad. That's pretty good. That's the defense is helping you out there. So, all right, let's hear from BetOnline, and then we will talk All-Star Game in Florida. But first, there is BetOnline.net. It's your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. You can get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to the college bowl season, which is coming to an end. Is that tonight?
I think it might be.
I think that game is tonight.
I'm an Auburn fan. I don't cheer this late into college football season.
You used to, but not anymore. And if you had some dollars on those Denver Broncos to bring it home the last week of the season, I know it was meaningless, but come on. When you win, when you had a rough season like they did, and you win the last game of the year, that does make you feel pretty good going into next year, knowing you have a brand new head coach coming in. So you even bet on that at betonline.net, who you think their next coach is going to be. Who you think it is? You think it's going to be Harbaugh?
Yeah.
Being a Michigan guy, man, I like Jim Harbaugh. I don't like him in the NFL. I think he's a good college coach. And I know he went to the Super Bowl with the Niners and stuff. I don't know. I think Peyton
get
would
some
be good.
orange visors.
Peyton would be good, or McDaniel. I'm hoping the the Miami Dolphins fire McDaniel to go grab him,
or Mike Tomlin,
and get that name that McDaniel's name out of the mouths of the Denver Broncos, because that was
get Mike Tomlin too, because he'll probably be out of the job too.
You think so? Dude's never had a losing season. Go to BetOnline and put some money down that Fegan's going to get fired from Pittsburgh. I don't see it happening. If you love sports podcasts, you can find those as well at BetOnline. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. That is betonline.net, where the game starts. So we got some news with All-Stars, and I don't know, man. Like, I feel like they changed it up the way, because when we were talking about it last week, I was saying, like, Makar and Nathan MacKinnon will be the shoo-ins. But it seems I don't like, again, like, I don't keep up with the All-Star game because I don't like it. So I don't know if they changed things up and how many guys that they're bringing into each team. But there was a time where the Avs had, their top line was there with Landeskog, Mikko, and MacKinnon. And now it just, I don't know, like, it just seems like it's one guy per team.
Yeah, it's gone to that baseball. Yeah, the baseball, everybody gets a representative.
So that one guy that is in is Cale Makar. And now we do the whole voting thing. And the guy that we have up for voting in is Mikko Rantanen. Just for this year. I'm not taking anything away from Cale Makar. But do you feel like that should be switched right now? The way that Mikko Rantanen is playing, do you feel like he should be the lock? And we should have to vote Cale Makar? And not that Makar is playing bad. He's playing great. But I think Mikko he's up there with, he's in the Hart conversation. So if a guy's playing that well, at least for an all-star nod, you should think that he shouldn't need to be voted in for it.
The last time talking about all-star, there was a wise prophet that used to talk about the All-Star, and he said,
"Who's that?
The finger and a thumb in the shape of an L on his forehead." That's what Mikko Rantanen is doing right now. That it would be Smash Mouth, but
yeah.
I would love it to be the opposite. Mikko Rantanen get the vote, and then we would have to vote Cale Makar, and then I would sabotage the vote where Cale Makar would not get voted in. And he gets to take that whole weekend off.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah.
That would be my ideal situation. But yeah, Cale Makar gets in. That's Nathan MacKinnon was hurt, and I think that also hurt his chances of getting in and getting the votes. Mikko should have been the automatic vote, and Cale Makar should have been the vote in.
Do you feel like All-Star games should be that way? Should be like, every team is represented, or it should be, because in my opinion, like, this is for the fans. It's more for the fans than for the players. And I know there's some contracts in some sports where if you make an All-Star game, you get a bonus. Well, maybe we should stop doing that. If we're just gonna like give everybody a hand, like every team, at least one guy on your team is getting like it becomes more of like who's the most popular on your team than who's having a good season that we didn't expect to have. And you should have a mixture of that. You should have a mixture of guys who are shoo-ins for the fans, your McDavids of the world, your Sidney Crosbys of the world, Austin Matthews, like they're going every single year because that's who the fans want to see. Have X amount of guys that are that, and then look at the stats and say, this is a guy who's out, like Nazem Kadri did last year.
Yeah.
Like he was deserving, but you still had to vote him in. And, depending on how voting goes, there's a possibility Mikko Rantanen doesn't go. So you're telling me right now that he's not deserving just because I'm not picking on. No, let's pick on him. The Chicago Blackhawks, just because the Chicago Blackhawks have to check the box. No,
I see both sides of the coin, because last year you could have said your all-star teams are half Colorado Avalanche, half you have Oilers, like it'd be, and then Tampa
Florida
Bay
was good last year. Yeah,
Florida, Tampa Bay, Boston, and then nobody else gets a chance. That's if you go that route, like especially with how teams are being comprised this year, you're seeing fewer and fewer Edmontons. Like even like Florida's rosters kind of it's beefy. Ottawa's roster is beefy. If you're going off just name value, you can start picking and choosing who you want as an Ottawa Senator, but do they deserve to be there? No.
Right.
So
well,
I can see both, but then it's also nice we watch every single game and we obsess over every single game. The casual fan is not going to be tuning in to your Thursday night game against Winnipeg, and they're going, this is like their chance. Oh yeah, Winnipeg. Oh yeah, look, Blake Wheeler. That's cool. I haven't thought about him in a long time, or I haven't thought about Winnipeg in a long time because they're not in the highlights. So I can see both sides of the coin. Everybody get a chance. It's a good way to show off the game and the teams that comprise your game. Right. But when these deep teams start losing all-stars, that's just how the cookie crumbles. And honestly, like to your point, it's the all-star game. Let the boy rest.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. To me, it's less of them wanting to see him play in the all-star game and just the recognition of being called an all-star. You know what I mean? And
at the end of the year.
What's that?
The recognition you want is at the end of the year.
It is.
The little pat on the head for the all-star game.
Right.
Even though I like all-star games.
Right.
It doesn't.
Because Nathan MacKinnon's a very interesting case right now. Like his numbers back up him. He should be an all-star. But he's missed some time. So, okay. And going on his team and his teammates, he's probably below Mikko Rantanen and Cale Makar to go there. From a fan standpoint, what fan doesn't want to see Nathan MacKinnon at an all-star game? So it's tough. Like it's an inexact science. It's not perfect. I get it. And I just hate the season that Mikko Rantanen is having, specifically this season. It would be kind of a, I think a big bust if he is not named an all-star.
Well, like the
much as I hate the game.
Last thing I'll say to the point, like you can make the same argument for like now that Nicholas Backstrom and Tom Wilson are back, who doesn't want to see them in the all-star game? Like those are two names that you're like, it'd be
Wilson,
fun.
I could. I'd be okay if Wilson never played another game.
But it's like the opportunity to see probably Ovi and Backstrom and maybe one last all-star game together. And like Tom Wilson, you love him or hate him, he is what he is. But they just got activated, so those are two names that could push somebody else out. But it's a never-ending.
Right. When it's that egregious, when they haven't played a single game until yesterday, like no, they're and
then Marc-Andre Fleury might not ever play again. Like it's
stuff like that. You get the sentimental stuff like that. Right. Exactly. So it's tough. But when you're limiting it to X amount of guys, I don't know. It takes away from some guys who are really deserving of it.
Yep.
So last bit of business we'll get to, and then we'll wrap it up. And that's the sound check for the Avalanche and the Oilers, our Locked On Avalanche sound check, where Kyle and I will pick one song that we feel best summarizes the most recent game. Put these songs up on Spotify on a playlist, which you can follow along. Just search Locked On Avalanche or LOA sound check. This is volume number 2. What do you got, sir, for Avalanche and Oilers?
This one is going out to my boy. This is for my boy Blue, Cale Makar.
Mm-hmm.
Hero of the Day, one of the most underrated Metallica songs in their
That has your
catalog.
vote?
Yes.
That's good. Okay.
Like, I love that. I like Mama Said. I like a lot of their like Load Reload, like their weirder stuff. Hero of the Day is my ultimate. Like, I love Hero of the Day.
Okay, you heard it here first, folks. All right.
And
it's fitting. We needed it, man. Like, I don't know about you, but going to a shootout against that Oilers, 2 of them who are taking shots, and they are tough to stop. So yeah, you wanted to get that thing done in OT, and it's like who's going to be the hero? Who's going to stand up and be the hero? Obviously, that was Cale Makar, beautiful move from him. And God, that was like
you can listen to that song from Cale's viewpoint, and it would make a lot of sense too. Mama, they tried to break me.
Yeah. Well, in some fashion, mine's kind of in that same realm between the really all 3 goals between Hunt, the overtime one with Makar, and Nathan MacKinnon's just coast to coast like he did against St. Louis in the playoffs. All 3 of those were just beautiful, and that's what I went with. I went with Moby. I don't think I haven't done a Moby song in either volume 1 or volume 2, but we're doing one here, and that's off the album Hotel. It's the song called Beautiful, because all 3 of those goals were just things of beauty. All 3 of them. Wonderful.
Every one of them. I love their highlight reel goals and the emotion tied with them. Chef's kiss.
To do what Nathan MacKinnon does with the speed he does it at, that's only in my dreams, man. Yeah. Like I can't fathom how you are, and he's in control. So there's sometimes where he just gets ahead of steam and he loses the puck, but when he knows he's got the drop on a guy, it's art. It's like poetry in motion.
Even when he does his drills pre-game, the game we were at, just watching him do his hands drills, it's just like this. It's just not real. It's not fathomable.
Stupid. So go check those out. Follow the playlist, and we'll have a couple more on their next game, which is against who?
Florida.
It is a Panthers game, right?
Yeah,
that's right. Okay, who are struggling a little bit this year. So, but still one of the most entertaining games from last year.
Oh yeah,
was Florida and the Avs. So, and it's just one game, but you got to get this. Doesn't wipe away the 5 game. I mean, it does wipe away the 5 game losing streak, but you want to get a nice head of steam going into these the rest of these games in January. So, all right, that's going to wrap it up for today. And thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. For Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan, I am Chris Maselli, and this is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We will see you guys tomorrow.